Friday night, folks. Built-in Buffalo followers and fans, Bills fans. What's going on? And I'm Lance Nelson, president of Built-in Buffalo. To my left, Scott Casson. To my right, Benjamin Shoop. Sup, Shoop?
No, nothing much. Nothing much. Getting ready. I think the nerves are starting to kind of kick into high gear for a lot of people. You're in that 72-hour range of the game, so people are really starting to get nervous and people are starting to get excited. But it should be a great Sunday, great week of football again before the Bills game. So hopefully it doesn't come true. But if the Bills do lose, at least you got to watch a good. You got to enjoy the first games before having to go watch the Bills lose. But they're not going to lose, so it won't matter. It'll be a good weekend, and you'll see a bunch of good football games. So ready to watch some football this weekend.
How you feeling, Scott?
Nervous. Been nervous all week. But I'm going to
Yeah.
start to show a quick math lesson for Shoop there. He said 72 hours, or 2 days is 48 hours. I know that Buffalo education system, but
Still within 72 hours, is it not?
this is true. But we're in 48 now, even closer. No, very nervous. Been a long week. One of my friends texted me on Wednesday and was like, "How you feeling?" And I was like, it's been a long week and it's only Monday." And they were like, "It's Wednesday." I was like, "Oh," so I forgot what day of the week it was. Just been thinking about this game, but very excited, very nervous. It's gonna be a good game no matter what. Hopefully, it's a game of the year that we win this time. That would be a nice change of pace.
Yeah, definitely feeling it, man. And I'm so torn. It's like you feel good and you're like, man, this could be the last game. And my uncle's coming up from North Carolina, and last time he came up was the Bengals game in the playoffs. And there's like what we do actually doesn't have any effect on the outcome of the game, contrary to popular belief. But he even said, that he didn't want to come up and be bad luck. And I said, look, we got to enjoy it, enjoy the time we're in. It's a great time to be a Bills fan, and win or lose, it's going to be a good day on Sunday. But we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen and give our thoughts. That's kind of why we're here. So, first of all, let's give a couple quick thoughts on what looked good or what didn't look good in your mind from the Broncos game. What do you think there, Scott?
The biggest thing that I had, and you wrote it down, so I am going to steal it, but it was what I was going to say,
Yep.
was just how they were in the red zone. It didn't end up mattering. They still scored 31 points, but they went 1 for 4 in the red zone, 1 for 5, technically, the last one being a kneel down. The only touchdown being from inside the red zone being the James Cook run. Probably not going to beat the Ravens by kicking field goals in the red zone. I know the
Yep.
Broncos have a really good defense, kind of a similar model to the Bills. Like tighten up once you get like inside the 30, maybe let them get some yards inside the 30. But once you get inside that, tighten up. I know that's kind of the Broncos strategy, but the Ravens have a good defense too. I know they struggled at the end of the year, but they really turned it on towards the end of the season. I know they didn't have the hardest down the stretch schedule, but still, like the stats they were putting up against NFL teams is impressive. So you're not going to beat the Ravens kicking field goals. You're going to, even if you get a lead kicking field goals, you're keeping it close enough that they can run the ball. So got to convert when you get in the red zone. Got to get 6 instead of 3.
Yeah. I'm gonna just quickly say what I said earlier in the Bill and Buffalo chat. What I noticed, the punter for the Broncos had a day. Just obviously joke around there, but he did have a good day. He he had the fake punt, he had pin on the one, and then he had the saving tackle on Shakir's punt. But on the Bills side of things, I thought the defense. I know they had that first drive that they allowed the big score, but again, they really they showed up the rest of the game. I mean, Bo Nix. I know that some people said that they didn't really see the pass rush do as great as maybe the numbers said. For me, I thought they looked great. They were making Bo Nix move around. They were making him uncomfortable, and they made him look like a rookie. He missed some easy throws, some throws to guys that were wide open. And yeah, Bo could have been better, but at the end of the day, you're forcing a rookie into an uncomfortable position and you're forcing him to make tough plays. So I think the defense did a great job. Obviously, this week is a completely different story. You have a two-time MVP, a guy that really can take over games, and he has a running back there to help him out. But either way, it was a great job by the defense. I think that they did a good job just overall, especially after that first touchdown. You could get down on yourself and say, oh, we just let a big touchdown on Bo Nix's first drive as a rookie in the playoffs. But no, they stepped up and they got after it. So I like what the defense did on Sunday.
For sure. I thought the offense did a good job converting on third and fourth down. They were over 50%. on third down, 8 for 15, and 2 for 2 on fourth down. So going to need to continue to have success on third down. And, they also got off the field 2 for 9 on third downs, as Scott noted here as well. So I think, that third down efficiency between offense and defense, getting off the field on defense and staying on the field on offense is really good. As far as what I want to improve a little bit is 2 sacks on 17 pressures. Like 2 sacks isn't bad, but like, I don't know, the Ravens had 4 sacks on 18 pressures last week against the Steelers. Totally different team and game. I get it, but like just from a statistical standpoint, I want to improve that ratio of sacks per pressure, and hopefully that improves because we're going to need to get. If we want to at the line of scrimmage, we also have to then make the play and make the tackles, and so hopefully some tackles in the backfield will help this defense have success on Sunday. It's a legacy game. That's the title of the show, right? Legacy game. Who does it mean most to? Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, heck, Sean McDermott, right? Who does this mean the most to as far as legacy? Shoot, you could start.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to go Sean McDermott. I mean, for him, he's a guy that, especially if they lose, what's going to happen, especially how they lose, a lot of it's going to be looked at on his decision making this Sunday, late game. How does it play out? I mean, I think we'll know obviously more after the game whose legacy it affects more, because if Josh has a bad game, then it's going to be Josh. If Lamar has a bad game, it's going to be Lamar. But if they both play well and then it comes down to the last 4 minutes of the game, then it's going to be Sean McDermott. So going into the game, I would say Sean McDermott has the most to prove. But by the end of the game, I think it could be a lot different. All three of these guys have a lot to prove. Even John Harbaugh on the other side. I know a lot of Ravens fans for the past few years have been kind of just sick of getting to the playoffs and not performing the way that they've hoped. So I think even John Harbaugh has got a lot to prove. I know he does have the Super Bowl, but it's been some years now, just like, in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin. Fans are going to start to get kind of irritated at how long it's taken. So a lot of guys have a lot to prove, but right now before the game, I'd say Sean McDermott definitely has the most to gain in this game if they do end up winning and he ends up coaching well.
Yeah, the easy answer is whoever wins. That's whose legacy it helps most, who has the most effect on. But yeah, I agree with you. And that Sean McDermott, this is one of those games that feels like could be a Sean McDermott masterclass on the defensive side of the ball. Him and Bobby Babbage get in the lab, find ways to slow down Derrick Henry. They've done it before. Find ways to slow down Lamar. They've done it before. As we saw in week 4, and obviously the defense looked a lot different. But the guys who are going to be on the field, they couldn't stop anything that the Ravens tried to do, and the offense couldn't get going in the first half, which didn't help. Dug ourselves a big hole, and it's hard to get out of it against a team that runs the ball like the Ravens do. But, yeah, I think for Sean McDermott, if they lose this game, and it's kind of like the way they've lost in the playoffs before, outside of the Bengals game, which we were talking about earlier, where, like that game was just so fluky for so many different reasons. But if they lose because the defense doesn't show up, then I think that the voices for having Sean McDermott being out are going to get a lot louder. Not saying I agree with that by any means. I think he's a very good football coach, as shown with how few all-pro players the Bills have had, how few Pro Bowl players the Bills have had, yet they have consistently the most wins, over the last 5 years. But I think the voices are going to get a lot louder, and the pressure on ownership and Brandon Beane to maybe make a move are going to get a lot louder. So I think this is a game that Sean McDermott and his defense have to show up, because if they lose in the same way again, it's just, definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. At some point, the voices are just going to get too loud. They're going to have to make a move.
Yeah, for sure. I think, like you said, it means the most for the winning quarterback, probably, to me, as far as legacy goes. But Roy has a comment here, interestingly enough, doesn't see it as a legacy game. I just, 2 MVP candidates facing each other. I don't see how you couldn't see it. I think that it is a divisional round game, though, so I could see that side of it where, you really the game is going to be in the AFC Championship, potentially beating the Chiefs, and then the real legacy of going to the Super Bowl. So I understand it, but this it's a big game. It's the game everybody kind of wanted to see. It's a game you'd like to have in the AFC Championship, honestly.
I didn't want to see it.
Yeah. Scott didn't want to see it, but as far as like 2 Goliaths going at each other. This is one of the biggest matchups, if not the biggest game you're going to see in this year. You may see Bills and Chiefs again or something. We've already seen that once, and we've seen this game once, but I think the two teams are a lot different than what we saw in week 4, and we'll go through some of that as well. So I think, if the Bills lose, I think McDermott's going to get a lot of criticism that, rightly or wrongly. I always look at the players on the field have to perform, and no matter how much the coach does, he can't make the plays for these guys. And sometimes fans think that he should, or like there's a certain degree of having preparation and that sort of thing. And then players having bad days, or players not making plays, even though they may be in position to. And we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there. But I do think that McDermott gets more blame than Allen if the Bills do lose, and Allen shows at least some life. But cross that bridge when we get there. I think that hopefully McDermott's legacy is helped by a win on Sunday, and that's what I'm going to be looking for. If you haven't done so yet, please like and share this show. If you're on Facebook, like and share. If you're on X, repost and like. And if you're on YouTube, hit the like, and then leave some comments down in the comment section. And if you could subscribe to the YouTube page there at the Built in Buffalo channel and hit that bell to turn on notifications when we go live, we'd appreciate it. We're brought to you by Buffalo Belia Sports and More. Head over to their Facebook page and check out a bunch of custom Bills memorabilia like the helmet over my shoulder here. And then Monster Energy, the official energy partner of Built in Buffalo. Check out Monster Energy, all the cool stuff they do. Let's go into the injury report, guys. Ray Davis still in concussion protocol. He's questionable. And Alec Anderson with a calf now has no designation. What do you make of this injury report? I mean, I don't think we're going to see Ray Davis on Sunday, but we'll see how he's progressing. And I just think it was a big hit, and we'll see if he needs a week off. But give me your thoughts. We can start with you, Scott, on this one, and take us through your thoughts of injuries, and also just comment on how nice. I don't want to jinx anything, but geez, it's kind of nice to only have one player with a designation this week.
Yeah, I'm going to say I like this injury report a lot better than the divisional round last year, where it felt like half the team was on it, half the team was out or questionable, and they all needed Shoop to come in and be long snapper. But yeah, it's nice to only have one guy in Ray Davis. He could pass concussion protocol. We don't know. It seems like come playoff time, they tend to quicken that protocol up a little bit. And it did help that he was limited in practice all week. He was doing stuff. He was moving around. So it seems like he has maybe an outside chance at it. Kind of wouldn't be surprised either way. But of the running backs, it kind of seems like he's been getting the third most snaps, third most carries recently. So if he doesn't go, you can imagine they elevate Frank Gore Jr., and I can't imagine he plays all of that much. So should be able to game plan as normal without him. But yeah, it feels really good to go in healthy, and feels like we can actually see what this team can do to its full potential. We don't have injuries holding us down like past years.
Yeah, rule number 76, no excuses, play like a champion.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm pretty much just going to echo what Scott said there. I mean, he pretty much nailed it. It stinks that you might not have Ray Davis, but at the end of the day, you have two other running backs that are playing good football right now and are able to and capable of stepping up. So, it's nice to be in this position. Hopefully Sunday you can keep it a little bit of the same. I know Cam Lewis got a little bit banged up in the game last week as well. See if that kind of at least. I know, on the injury report, they don't have a designation, but who knows if that kind of lingers with him a little bit, that shoulder and neck injury. But at the end of the day, he's full practicing all week. So it's nice to see that. And we'll see what goes on.
Yeah. If Ray Davis doesn't play, I do expect them to have, a third running back on the team for Sunday's game. They're not going to go into a game where they're expecting to impose their will physically with just two healthy running backs. They're going to need a third one there, break glass in case of emergency type situation at least. But Joe Brady's found ways to use these guys, so I wouldn't put it past him if he gets him a couple plays in a package before this game. Yeah, that's about it for our quick thoughts, guys. We'll roll into the offense. Shoop, you want to take one more comment here?
Yeah, so before I saw Joey had brought it up here. It says, is it me or did I read an article today that Sean McDermott is the coach of the year? So he didn't win the NFL's official awards of the coach of the year, but he did win. The Maxwell Football Club announced their winner for coach of the year. So it's its 36th Earl Greasy Neal Award. And it's I'm not too sure. I think as a lot of people are, they're not too sure about what this club actually is and how official they are compared to other awards. However, for me, it's at the end of the day, I know a lot of Bills fans feel the same way. It's nice to see Sean McDermott at least get some recognition. So I guess, what do you guys think about him getting any recognition and just at least an award for coach of the year, even though it's not the official coach of the year? What do you think? We'll start with you, Lance.
Yeah, it sounds like they've been around since 1937. Just doing a quick read up here. So 35. So prestigious. That's kind of a prestige type of thing, and pretty cool to see McDermott's name mentioned among all of the professional coaches out there.
Some people say this award is bigger than the AP Coach of the Year. So those people, could be me, but some people say it. So yeah, cool to see him get some kind of recognition, like you said. I hadn't heard of it until today when I saw it on Twitter or something like that. So yeah, good for McDermott. But I hope it doesn't give the Ravens any bulletin board material.
Right on.
But yeah, so we'll slide along into the Bills offense, and to do so, I got to talk about the Ravens defense. And the Ravens, historically, when you think about them, you think defense. That 2000 Super Bowl team, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, like they're historically a defensive football team. The beginning of the season wasn't really like that. When the Bills played them in week 4, although the Bills did everything they could do to show this wasn't true, they were the last ranked defense in the NFL. They've kind of gotten better as the season's gone along. They've moved some guys around. They've kind of found their scheme that works for them, started playing some rookies, and their defense really has been playing well down the stretch, specifically the run defense. Shoop, they have the number 1 run defense in the NFL, giving up, I think, 80 yards a game, which is not a lot. What do the Bills have to do to run the ball on Sunday, and how can they do it against this front?
I think the number one thing is you're going to have to stick with it. I mean, even if it's not working early in the game, you got to stick with the run. You got to establish the run. And that also means I think you got to switch up how you run the ball. You can't just continue to run up the middle, up the middle, up the middle. You're going to have to go with the zone run. You're going to have to go outside, even get Josh Allen involved. You're going to have to really mix it up. You already have 2 running backs that are able to switch it up a little bit with Ty Johnson and James Cook. Ray Davis, like we said, would have been nice to have there for another kind of change of pace. But you also have Josh Allen, who is almost like a freight train at this point. I mean, 6'5", you see him looking for contact when he's running the football sometimes. So get him involved as well. Just continue to run it and get those big boys up front rolling. And by the time that it should be by the end of the first quarter, I think this offensive line should be fully ready to go and then fully going with it, because you know how they are. They like to push the pile, as we saw last week with the game in Denver against Denver. Saw James Cook push 15 yards by Deion Dawkins and crew. So get them going and get it physical. Get it physical early.
Let's get physical.
Yeah. Stating the obvious, but you got to make some guys miss, right? And when the Bills having James Cook and Ty Johnson for that matter, I think Josh Allen does a sneaky good job of making people miss at times, but got to make some guys miss to have success in the running game here. The offensive line is very good, obviously, for the Bills, so they're going to help that endeavor. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to get through a few tackles or get around some tackles to get the yardage you need to continue drives and score touchdowns. So I think making guys miss is going to be a huge caveat to the Bills' running game working, coupled with obviously the line of scrimmage. But the Bills' offensive line has been really, really good. So I don't have any sort of reservations about them continuing to do what they do. But they do have to do that. They do have to continue to make, get the holes created and things. But I really think comes down to James Cook kind of making some guys miss is going to really help the Bills rush game this week, excuse me.
Yeah, the Bills O-line is going to have to show up. They have all season. So similar to what you said, Lance, I've full confidence that they're going to be able to get a push, run that gap scheme they run so well, the zone scheme they run so well, worked great against the Broncos, and they had a really good rush defense. And you could kind of tell early on in that Broncos game that like Vance Joseph's like, we can't stop the run. Like there's nothing we can do. I don't know if we're going to get to that point against the Ravens. I think their rush defense is a little bit better than the Broncos is, but yeah, and like you said, Ben, if it doesn't work early, you have to get creative with it, and you can't quit it because you can't beat a team like the Ravens being completely one-dimensional. It just won't work, especially with how good their secondary is, which we're going to talk about next. They have 4 All-Pros in the back set, or 3 All-Pros in their back 7. So they got some dogs over there. But yeah, going to have to rely on the O-line. James Cook going to have to hit the hole when he sees it. And I think a lot of our running success could come on the ground with Josh Allen. They're going to try to get after him. They're going to bring a pass rush. They're going to bring a blitz. If Josh Allen can find holes and they go man if they go man with the blitz, all their backs turn to Josh Allen. Josh could take off. So it could be one of those games where they get a lot of yards on the ground, but maybe not necessarily all of them are designed yards on the ground. It's just Josh making a play. Hinted into the secondary, they got 3 All-Pros on the backside: Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, and oh my goodness, Roquan Smith, who's maybe the best linebacker in football. Lance, how do you think the Bills can move the ball through the air on these guys who have one of the best secondaries down the stretch and a whole lot of brand names that have noses for the football?
It's going to be a challenge. Obviously, the Bills really like the middle of the field, and some of those guys kind of are in the middle of the field that are very good. So you kind of have to maybe take some shots on it. You have to have a Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper doing some damage out there. You got Nate Wiggins. You got Tre'Davious White is on the team. He's not primarily out there. Brandon Stevens, that was the name that escaped me. But so you have these guys that can be beat. You saw Pittsburgh take advantage of them at times last week. So can Amari Cooper, can Keon Coleman, can they work them on Sunday? And I think they can, but then Josh Allen also has to have the time and be able to get the passing lanes to get the ball out to those folks. So I really think the way that those matchups really stack up on Sunday is going to be the big catalyst for the Bills passing game. And I know you'll like to say that the running backs out of the backfield need to be a factor too, probably, because if Shakir and Kincaid and Knox maybe are occupying the middle of the field, maybe some swing passes and things to the running backs can help as the rest of the team, the receivers and tight ends, kind of occupy the secondary. We have that matchup with our running backs versus linebackers.
Yeah, for me, continue what you did last game and get everybody involved. That's the number one thing. I mean, I know that you want to get the ball to your playmakers more and get the ball to that by the end of the game, Shakir should have more targets, Kincaid should have more targets, but at the end of the day, you want to see Matt Collins on there. You want to see Curtis Samuel on there. You want to see everybody involved. Even Dawson Knox had some big plays against Denver, which those are the plays that can be game-changing. I mean, Curtis Samuel had the long touchdown, and Dawson Knox, I believe, had 2 big first downs that he ended up catching. So get those guys involved, get everybody involved. And then the second thing, we just talked about it, the run game. Establish the run. If you establish the run, that helps the pass. I mean, I think a lot of people will watch football and understand that, because that opens up play action, that opens up deep shots, that opens up even underneath too, because now you're having to bring more guys into the box to combat the run game if Cook is getting it going. So that means get the ball out quick to your screen, then not less guys on the outside. You can get going there. So really, for me, I guess now the number one thing for me actually is going to be get that run game going, which will in turn help the passing game.
Yeah, you mentioned all of their all-pro players kind of being up the middle, and the Bills' general game plan, and definitely was last week, is attack the middle of the field. And part of that is our best weapons on offense, realistically, are James Cook, who running back, a lot of them up the middle, Khalil Shakir, a slot receiver up the middle, and then Dalton Kincaid, who's a tight end, generally in the middle of the field. Marlon Humphrey and Roquan Smith are going to make that very difficult to do. And since they've kind of moved Kyle Hamilton back to more of that strong safety role, they had him kind of playing down closer to the line of scrimmage earlier in the year, and that wasn't working. Their secondary was getting torched. Since they moved him back, it's kind of had that like kind of quarterback of the defense type effect. That's tightened everything up. But their outside corners, you mentioned, Lance, really struggle against big wide receivers. And something the Bills have this year that they haven't in years past are two big physical wide receivers who can go up and get it, and Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper. And it may change kind of the way the Bills do things. There may be some longer developing pass plays to get those guys open down the field. Maybe just throwing up, letting guys go make a play, make a contested catch. But they're going to have to take advantage outside of the numbers, a spot that generally the Bills don't like to primarily attack. But with the strength of the Ravens defense being inside the numbers, they're going to have to throw outside the hashes, outside the numbers. So it'll be cool to see what Joe Brady dials up, because haven't really seen a whole lot of like deep creative plays. And we saw the one on Sunday for Curtis Samuel, the motion, and he had Surtain in the complete spin cycle, had him so confused, didn't know who his matchup was. Curtis Samuel got wide open. So it could be cool to see what other kind of things they draw up. But remember last time they played the Ravens, everybody was talking about all the motion Joe Brady ran, and the Ravens just didn't react to it. The Bills used all the motion. No one on the Ravens moved. And everybody was saying, why'd they stop doing motion? Well, because if you motion for no reason, you're not helping anything. It wasn't telling them any information. So it'll be a cool cat and mouse game to see how the Ravens react to it, and then what Joe Brady does differently this time, knowing that that motion may not get their guys open. That was long-winded, but shoot, what's your key to the game?
My key to the game, I honestly, fast start, don't turn the ball over. Those are the two things for me. It is, if you're going to lose this game if you lose the turnover battle. 100%. You cannot win this game if you're going to turn the ball over 2 or 3 times this game. Heck, even once might lose you this game. You cannot turn the ball over, and you cannot start slow, because as soon as we all know, as soon as you get down to 7-0, as soon as you get down, even if it's 14-0, even 10-0, then the pressure starts building. Then you start forcing stuff, and then the Ravens can sit back and say, hey, we got a guy that just ran for almost 2,000 yards. We're just going to give the ball to him, and then we're going to just roll with that the rest of the game. So, that's for me the two things. Get started hot and don't turn the ball over.
Yeah, I think that, on offense, that the Ravens have 5 guys on the 6 guys that have over a 10% win percentage in pass rush. So you're going to have guys winning in their pass rush, and we have to avoid that pressure and not let it turn into sacks. So Josh Allen's obviously very good at that, and needs to be again. And then that will ultimately help our offense stay on the field. Our offense staying on the field hopefully leads to points, and therein is the key of the game, scoring more points than the other team.
That was going to be my key, but I got to think of a new one now. To echo what Ben said, you got to start fast. You can't get behind a team like the Ravens who run the ball the way they do. And a big stat, I think the Bills will win this game if they can win the time of possession. If the Ravens win the time of possession, and that means they're having long drives, they're running the ball, like they're kind of taking the air out of it late in the game, I don't know if the Bills will touch the ball enough to make up for it if they have a slow start, which is essentially what happened in September. The Bills started slow. The Ravens ran the ball. The Bills just didn't touch the ball enough to come back, and they had that costly turnover. So obviously avoid turnovers. But yeah, time of possession is going to be a big stat. Do we see a game plan kind of like they had against the Chiefs last year? Their long, methodical drives, try to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. If Josh doesn't get bumped on the last play of the game before the field goal, it might have worked. Like they might have stolen that game. So see how aggressive they are. Obviously, you want to go score, but do they run the ball a lot? If they can establish it, they try to win that time of possession battle. That's a stat I'm going to be looking at. Who has the ball more? And against a team like the Ravens, if you can win that stat, you're probably going to win the game.
Yeah, and the Bills have actually shown that they want to do that more and play more ball control. At least they did. That was the game plan against Denver, right? They had a huge time of possession. I don't have the stat in front of me, the time right now.
Yeah, they doubled them up easy.
It was crazy. They almost had like 40 minutes of time possession. So it was a big factor in the Bills game. And if they can do that to the Ravens, that'd be huge. But I think it's going to be more. I'm torn between whether this is going to be more of a shootout or not with the cold weather and stuff everyone's mentioning. Look, I just have to say, I don't know just about the weather while it's in my head. Somebody brought up that it was going to be 8 degrees. I don't know if that's the wind chill or what. Like the low for the day is 8 degrees, but during the game it's going to be near 20. And whatever the wind is, the wind is. But I think it's not going to be like as cold as maybe people are exaggerating it to be. It's going to be cold. It's going to be 18 degrees, but we live in Buffalo. We've been through 18 degrees
Ryan Fitzpatrick will be
times,
shirtless either way.
Either way. So
And so we'll shoot.
Yeah, that's
So will I. If the Bills are up by double digits going into the second half, I'll go shirtless for at least a little bit.
If Shupa makes an appearance at the tailgate, I'll go shirtless.
Oh.
Well, I'll be showing up. I'll be there at 11 a.m.
All right.
We'll be there.
I know. Hey, 1 o'clock games are tough for me. 1 o'clock games are tough, right? Because people, we'll get into that later.
Yeah. Mentioning tailgates, guys, just real quick, if you guys are out there Sunday before the game, Monster Energy tailgate at the Big Tree Inn, presented by Buffalo Billiard Sports and more. Shout out to Big Tree Inn and OP, Water Buffalo Club 716. See their hat over my shoulder here too. Come out, have some fun with us. 97 Rocks there. A lot of guys cooking up good food in the lot also. Come hang out with us.
Yeah, and if I'm there and you're not, that's saying something. No, I'm joking. I'm just joking. Sorry, Scott, go ahead.
It's your turn for key of the game.
Key of the game. Well, I already went to.
Or no, we did that. We did that.
Now now we're doing the last two that we always do.
Yeah. As we always do, Lance. Who's your MVP? Who needs to step up? I was picturing Ben shirtless and got distracted.
Those outside receivers, Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper, need to step up this week, as we mentioned. Going to be a key to beating the Ravens through the air. And then the MVP is going to be Josh Allen. I'm gonna steal it for this game. I haven't taken him really all year, but he's the MVP of the league, and he's going to be MVP of this game to bring the Bills offense and the Bills team a victory.
Well, I was going to say Amari Cooper for my step up. And I'm going to stick with it, even though Lance took him as well. I think this is the reason you go and get him is for games like this. You get him to step up. You know that what Khalil Shakir will bring. You know what James Cook will bring. You know what those guys will bring because they've brought it for the past however many weeks. Amari Cooper, even though some part of it is that you haven't had to use him in certain ways, but this is the game, right? This is the game you get him for. This is the game where you say, hey, we didn't have him when we played the Ravens the first time. The passing game couldn't really get going against the Ravens, and a lot of it was because of the fact that other people couldn't get open. So I do think that yes, that Amari Cooper will be the guy that will need to step up. MVP, I'm gonna go with the two tackles, Deion Dawkins, Spencer Brown. This Ravens defense, right? This Ravens defense, you got guys that can make plays, especially on the defensive line as well. And the number one guy that I'm looking at to stop is Kyle Van Noy. He's had a phenomenal season. He's been great since he's joined Baltimore. And if he is going to disrupt this game, you're going to end up having a hard time moving the ball. So I'm going to go with the two tackles as the MVPs because I do think they will step up.
Yeah, the offensive line as like a whole, we need them to step up, and we probably need them to be the MVP because, like we mentioned, how good the Ravens are stopping the run. We're going to need them. But my step up is going to be your MVP, Lance. It's going to be Josh Allen. If this game is a shootout, the way a lot of people think it might be, the cold may have some effect in it. And sometimes playoff games that you think you're going to be shootouts just become rock fights, and the final is 14-10. But the best way to stop the Ravens' offense is to score points. And if they go out and they score 30-plus points, they'll win this game because the Ravens want to run the ball. So if we get a lead, we can't run the ball. We can take them out of their game plan completely. And in years past, we've seen how easily the Ravens get rattled out of their game plan and change it up and try to catch up in one play and throw the ball down the field, and that's not Lamar's specialty. Saw last year in the Chiefs game in the AFC Championship. They got down 7-0, and they started – I think they ran the ball 3 times with running backs, and they were all on the first drive. If you get them out of a rhythm and you take them out of what they want to do, they get very uncomfortable. So we need Josh Allen to come out with his hair on fire. It's one of those games you win the toss, maybe you take the ball. Like you take the ball and try to go get up 7-0 and set the tone that, hey, like we're here, we're in the lead. Kind of like in that Lions game. I think the only 2 stops we got the whole game are on the first 2 drives of the game. But guess what? They couldn't stop us. We couldn't stop them after that, but we had a 2-touchdown head start. Didn't need Josh to step up, come out and get the lead early. And then my MVP, I'll go James Cook. I think we're going to have to run the ball. I think we're going to play physical. I think in the cold, we're going to need to run the ball. And I think James Cook has one touchdown, maybe 2, if Josh doesn't steal one from him on the goal line. But I think James Cook has a good game, but that'll be credit to that offensive line, who we all know is the real MVP every week anyway.
Scott, before I kind of zoned out there for a second because I was looking at something in the comments, who did you say was your step up?
Josh Allen.
Okay, so I before we move on, I do also want to say the guy that needs to step up, especially like you said earlier in the show, Scott, that had a pretty rough game and, necessarily didn't fool the defense was Joe Brady. And Joe Brady is going to need to step up compared to what we saw in week 4 against the Ravens. He's going to have to call a good game, and he's going to have to call. He can't mess up play calling in crucial situations, third and shorts, third and longs, right? In the red zone. Those are the plays where he's going to have to step up. So before we move down, I just wanted to point that out as well, that I do think a good guy that needs to step up isn't necessarily even a player. It is Joe Brady, who's going to have to call a very good game as well, because he's going to have his work cut out for him. So, but it is
get in your bag, Joe. Get in your bag. Let's go.
Yeah, we've seen some games where he's gotten deep in that bag and he has been rolling. I mean, that Lions game, even the Rams game, I think that he was doing great. So those 2 games, and hopefully that, like they said, they were keeping it vanilla towards the end of the season. Hopefully we start seeing that stuff come out.
I think even the Broncos game, they kept it pretty basic, especially in the red zone. Like we saw pretty much every drive on the red zone, run on first down, run on second down, some kind of basic pass concept. So I think they even kept it vanilla there. So yeah, I'm excited to see the red zone stuff he draws up, because we're going to have to get creative, and I think you will, but hopefully not.
How many 5 wide sets do we get?
How many 6
with receivers or just people out there?
Empty backfield.
I think we see that a decent amount.
How often do you think we see 6 offensive linemen? Because these are the 2 teams that love to get that 6 offensive linemen and two halfbacks back there, and just,
I think it's like 30% typically. I think you'll see somewhere around 30% 6 line.
It's good that Alec Anderson is healthy and he is okay. I know that.
I don't think he's healthy, but I think he's going to be okay to play.
Yeah, he's healthy enough.
He gets hurt every other play while playing in the game and just keeps coming back in.
He is okay. You'll see him talking some smack out there like he does every game. We love Alec Anderson.
Take a little visit to Dr. Needle and the cold, and he'll be feeling just right. But one thing about, you mentioned the 6 linemen. So the Bills actually are better statistically with 6 linemen and 2 running backs than the Ravens, which you wouldn't think, because Pat Ricard is all they talk about. They have this 300-pound guy who can run fast. But the Bills, we got a fullback too.
Yeah, Reggie Gilliam. Shout out Reggie.
Reg.
But time to move on to the defense here, which is, I think, to a lot of people, the more nerve-wracking part of this game is how is the defense going to do? We saw what happened last time these two played. Again, they were missing a lot of guys. Teron Johnson, Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard. You had guys still trying to step up and learn the defense as well in the secondary. So you had guys that are learning for new positions, getting more experience. So this defense is a lot different now, a lot different. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, we saw Derrick Henry first play of the game last time, huge run, going to the end zone. So let's talk about them first. Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, the running game. How do the Bills defend this? How do they stop this? And you're not going to stop it, right? You're not going to fully stop either of them. But how do you slow them down enough to give this defense a chance to contain this offense as a whole? We'll start with you, Scott.
The biggest way, and I'll go into some actual defense after this, the biggest way is to score points. Because when run defense doesn't matter, when your offense scores every single drive. Because you just can't keep running the ball. If you get down, there's not enough time in the game, because the Bills can run the ball too to try to shorten this game. So the biggest way, get a lead, make them one-dimensional, because you're not going to stop Derrick Henry, like you mentioned, or even Lamar running. They're both just too good. So score points, get a lead would be huge. But they've been running that read option a lot recently, and the Steelers just chose to hit Derrick Henry every time and let Lamar pull it, which I think is the right play, but they didn't have their linebacker or their nickel corner there. They just had let Lamar pull it and then had no one on the outside. So kind of those second level defenders are so big against Lamar and Derrick Henry, because you want to have Lamar pull it. You want to have him take those hits. It's a game of attrition, especially when it's 8 degrees. You want to keep hitting him as much as possible. So I agree, you let him pull it, but you got to be on the same page with whether it's Milano filling in, or Taron Johnson filling in, or Dorian Williams if he's in the game. Who is taking Lamar if he holds on to it? And then otherwise, our D-line just has to show up. Daquan Jones, Ed Oliver, we need them. If they've been saving it for this moment all year and they come out and play great, totally fine with that. But they got to get off their blocks. You got to get hit Derrick Henry before he gets going. Because once he gets going to full speed, you're not going to catch him because he's so fast. You're not going to tackle him so he's so big. But if you can hit him at the line of scrimmage before he gets going, you can really neutralize him. So you need the D-line to win.
Penetration, right? One of my favorite words to talk when I'm talking about football is penetration. And so, you got to penetrate and you got to stick these guys in the backfield. Hit Lamar. hit Lamar early and often, whether he pulls the ball or not. He took a knee to the back later in the game. I think it was mid-game or later in the game last week. I have no idea. Nobody's said anything about it, but I'm just saying he was laboring through that game last week. And I'm only imagining it's going to be more and more sore as time goes on here. Now he's gotten treatment all week and it'll feel good to start the game. But as it's cold and he starts getting licks throughout the game, I think that's going to make him want to hand the ball off. And then when he does, you got to wrap and get Henry on the ground, plain and simple. I saw Henry take a hit in that Steelers game that made me think like he's not impossible to tackle like everyone thinks. Like he's definitely and maybe he was getting tired at that point. I'm not sure, but I think you definitely have the ability to get him on the ground. And I think our players are capable. I don't think like he's like some unstoppable force. He's had 2 really good games against Buffalo where he's dominated and propelled his team to victory. And it just so happens to be the last game they played was one of those. But overall for his career, he hasn't necessarily wrecked every game that he's played against the Bills in. So I think I definitely think that you can have success by hitting both of these guys. Obviously in the backfield, like you mentioned, Scott, is key. But, even if the guy doesn't get the ball, if Lamar hands it off, still hit him. If Lamar pulls it, still hit Derrick Henry. If you have a shot at him, get physical with these guys and make them know that you're there.
Yeah, I like this comment here from Joey. Wrap up. I'm telling you got to bring him down. If you get in the chance, you got to bring him down. You cannot let him break extra tackles, which obviously is easier said than done for either of them. Lamar, very shifty, can juke guys out. We saw that clip from 2019 of Matt Milano getting juked out of his socks. You've seen Derrick Henry stiff arm plenty of guys, including former Bill Josh Norman. But yeah, you're going to have to bring these guys down. And I think the other key to stopping the run game, Taron Johnson. Didn't have him in week 4. Taron Johnson is the best run-stopping nickel in the game. He is crucial to this defense when it comes to that because it allows you to play that style of defense the Bills need to play. Cam Lewis is a great player, a good player. He's a good player. He just is not on that level of Taron Johnson, especially in the run game where you're going to feel comfortable putting Taron Johnson out there, and you're not going to feel comfortable with putting Cam Lewis out there in those situations where week 4 it was not the right game plan. And you saw the first play of the game, they got beat on it. So I do think that Taron Johnson is going to be a massive part of this game and part of the game plan to get in there and be physical. And he is a phenomenal player, and I have all the confidence in the world that he's able to make these plays. So yeah, that does bring me though into our next question here. Dorian Williams, Taron Johnson, who are we going to see more of? You have one guy who was an all-pro last year. I know this year, probably if he plays all the games, is in the conversation for it. Dorian Williams, who was leading the Bills tackles for a while. He's a guy that steps up in the run game. Who do we see more of those? Scott, Lance, we'll start with you this time. Who do we see more of?
Well, you're going to see more of Taron Johnson, I think, but I definitely want to see that Dorian Williams sprinkled in on the traditional 4-3 look and make sure that you got to save Taron a little bit from himself. He wants to be so physical, but he just, he gets himself in some areas where
like Sunday,
his body just can't hold it, up to that. It's the same sort of Micah Hyde physicality. Micah was a very physical player, but like at some point, like you're a human and your body is only so big. And so when you're throwing it in there against guys larger than you too often, it really comes down to form, making sure that you have good form to keep yourself safe. But again, there's only so much you can do when there's that repetitive contact. So I'd like to see Dorian in there in situations where, and it's going to be a little bit of guess, right? A little bit of guesswork. You're gonna have to go in there and see, are they gonna, they're going to want to run the ball probably more often than not, Baltimore. So you're not going to have to worry too much about the pass. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Ravens passing attack in the next topic. But I definitely want to see Dorian in there to at least give Taron a break and not have him slamming his head up against the wall every play.
Yeah, I agree. I think we see more Taron Johnson. I don't know if they go a whole lot of base 4-3. I'm calling it base. Our base is nickel, but I don't know if they go a whole lot of 4-3 just because it's something that they so infrequently do. So I don't know how comfortable they would be. And Lamar's a great passer. Even if Zay Flowers doesn't play, which we're going to talk about in a bit, like they still have tons of weapons. If they can catch Dorian Williams out there and expose him in coverage, they're going to pick up the pace. They're going to go into a huddle. They're going to try to expose that. It's not like they can only run the ball. It's their strength, but like they can throw the ball pretty well too. So I think they go mainly their nickel. Like Terrence, great fill in the run. Would like to see him, like on the comments here, try to not tackle with his face or with his neck. Maybe go low. Maybe just try to hold him up, jump on his back like a backpack, and someone else comes and helps because we need him to stay healthy. But I don't think they'll go a whole lot of 4-3. They did in week 4, but it was kind of at the end of the game when things weren't going well. And it was Nicholas Morrow, Dorian Williams, and Balin Spector. It might as well been the 3 of us out there. So I think they go mainly their nickel with Taryn because people say, he's only 190 pounds, like see in the national media, but like that just tells me those guys don't watch Taron Johnson play very much.
Yeah, I think if Dorian's in there too, and they do check to where they can read pass play, maybe we could just send Dorian on the blitz, and it'll be more effective than having him try to be out in coverage. But
I'm like a Likely or an Andrews, or
I do think we'll see more Tron Johnson, and I think I would like to see more Tron Johnson. I like Dorian Williams, I do, but especially in a game like this, look, he might help against Derrick Henry, but is he going to help against a guy like Lamar Jackson on the ground? Not so much. He's not going to – I don't think he's going to catch up to him. I don't think he's going to be able to be shifty with him. We've seen Dorian Williams get juked out of his socks before this year already, a couple times actually. So I like Dorian. He's coming along. He had a solid year, but he's still not there yet for me to say, I want him in over Tron Johnson a lot. And Tron Johnson just has the history with it. He has the background to say, hey, we have all of the confidence in the world to keep you out there every play if we need you to. So Tron Johnson, I think, is the guy that we will see more. He's the guy I want to see more. And he's the guy that I think will be more beneficial for the Bills just because, again, he can do it all. He really can. He can do it in coverage. You can bring him on the blitz. You can have him just play regular run defense. And, Tron Johnson is that guy. And I think he's one of the more underrated parts of this Bills defense. As Scott even mentioned, a lot of these national guys don't even really know how he plays, and they don't even watch how he plays. But he's a leader of this defense. You've seen him speak out many times in the past 2 years. You've seen him be a guy that says, hey, I'm a veteran. I want to be that guy to lead by example. So I'm really happy with keeping him out there the majority of the time on Sunday and just saying, hey, Tron, go crazy. And as other people in the comments have said, though, yeah, keep your head up and let's not do something stupid in the terms of how you're tackling on Sunday. But I want to see a lot of Tron Johnson this Sunday. We brought up Zay Flowers a little bit, or you guys brought up Zay Flowers a little bit. There's a big chance it seems like where he's not going to play. I know he was running some routes, but I think that's one thing that doesn't necessarily mean a lot when it comes to playing a game on Sunday, especially because it is Friday now at this point. So it's
that, and he's listed as doubtful. So
yeah, it's leaning.
Yeah, and everything he did was in a straight line.
Yeah, so it's leaning towards Zay Flowers will not be on the field. How does this affect, 1, the Bills, and 2, the Ravens passing game? We'll start with you, Scott. What do you think?
It's huge. I know people say, oh, you try to man up Rashad Bateman and he'll show you. I mean, yeah, that's because he's on the number 2 corner. He's on the number 2 receiver. Zay Flowers is kind of, I saw someone say it on X, the Everything app. He's kind of their get out of jail free card. He's their one guy who can get open versus any coverage. He can run any route. He's great after the catch. He's that kind of safety blanket that Lamar knows, hey, if it's 3rd and whatever, and I need someone to win their matchup, he's going to win his matchup. If they don't have that, that's huge. And especially it allows the Bills to maybe play a little bit more man defense. I know generally we play zone, but they actually played a decent amount of man down the stretch, and they played it up pretty successfully. It was more successful statistically in a DVOA than the zone was, and that could have been because they did it so infrequently and teams didn't expect it and it caught them off guard. But without Zay Flowers, I like our matchups man-to-man. You put either of our corners on Bateman, and then I guess Tyler Wallace would be on the other side. And then we got Taryn, Milano, and TB who can all cover on the inside on the tight ends, Likely and Andrews. So no Zay, and if Zay Flowers out there, you're probably not playing man because our corners are good, but Zay Flowers is just going to win. He's that good of a player. So it really changes what they can do defensively, and I think makes them be able to mess with Lamar a lot more and show him different kind of coverages and hopefully try to catch him off guard and try to get him, because he's a half second late. That's when you make turnovers. That's when you get sacked. So I think it's huge if he doesn't play.
Yeah, I agree 100% with what Scott said. You're going to need to uh, keep an eye and focus on Zay Flowers in the passing game when he's out there. He commands that respect, and without him, it's just going to make your life easier. Whenever there's a star player not playing in a game, obviously that goes without saying. It's going to be easier to defend that offense. So, as far as zone versus man, I'm torn too. I get like the whole fact that they've had success with the man defense and stuff, but it's also like you mentioned earlier, do what you do. If it with the you mentioned the 4-3, they haven't done it a lot, and so they have played man. It's not the same, but it's also if your basic principles are in the zone schemes and that's what you do the best. Like you said, maybe the man is something they can do better than zone because they've shown it. But I think they are a zone team and they do that the best. So, keep rolling with what you do best. But obviously changing it up, confusing Lamar with what he sees is going to be a big key defensively.
Yeah, the other thing that Zay Flowers brings is also that aspect of when Lamar's out of the pocket, who's the guy that it seems like he's looking for the most when he's scrambling around just looking for somebody. Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is the guy that pretty much is a do-it-all receiver. I know he does. I don't think he gets enough credit for what he really is on the football field. And like Scott said, I think people don't realize what he can do. So he can win routes, but he can also, like I said, he can help extend plays and help get open when Lamar is extending plays. So that's going to be huge for them because, if you have your number one guy that's not going to be able to get into that area where Lamar can see him when Lamar's scrambling around, it's going to make things harder for Lamar, and it's going to make things easier for the secondary as well. So Zay Flowers being gone is a huge, huge key for them. I don't really have too much more to add from what you guys said, so I'm just going to go right into the keys of the game. I'm going to say mine first real quick. I think the number one thing for me is you're going to have to get that push up front. You're going to have to get a really good push up front, not every down, but majority of the downs, right? You're going to have to consistently get that good push because Lamar's going to get his. It's going to happen. Lamar's going to get his yards through the air. He's going to get his yards on the ground. I know a lot of people you can say the same thing about Josh Allen. I look at that the same way with Lamar. Look, yeah, Lamar will have his off games each year. Josh will have his off games this year. But when it comes down to it, these guys are superstars. These guys are going to get theirs. Lamar's going to get his yards on the ground. That's the number one thing. But if you can't stop Derrick Henry, if you can't get a push up front and you're going to allow both of them to beat you, I don't know how you get off the football field in general, because besides watching them stroll into the end zone. So have to get a good push up front. It's going to start with Ed Oliver. It's going to start with Daquan Jones. It's going to start with that front four. So that's going to be my key to the game. Lance, what do you got?
Yeah, I talked about earlier penetration, and then also I said 2 sacks on 17 pressures. They gotta get guys down in the backfield when they do win and get that penetration. So it's going to be key to get tackles for a loss in this game.
Yeah, mine is going to be holding them to 3 instead of 6. They're going to move the ball. The Bills generally allow teams to move the ball kind of within the 30s. Obviously, they don't want to. It's not like they're, hey, go ahead. But that's just kind of the way this defense is designed. They're going to run the ball. They're going to get yards. Like you said, their stars are going to get theirs. But when they get in the red zone, when they get inside the 30, get in the red area, we got to tighten up. Can't let them score touchdowns every time. I don't think we held them to a single field goal the last time we played them. I didn't check, but they scored 35, and I'm not that good at math, but I know 7 times 5 is 35. We got to hold them to 3. Like, if we can get 2 stops, a turnover, and force 2 or 3 field goals, that makes the offensive life way easier. Because we said we're going to have to score 30 to win most likely, but if we can lower that to 25, lower that to 24, like it makes lives easier to play complementary football. But got to tighten up in the red zone. And Justin Tucker has shown he doesn't kick great in Buffalo.
I was going to say,
yeah.
Force those field goal attempts, not even just field goals, but force the attempts, because no guarantee they're going to make them.
Exactly. And he's been shaky this year. He's maybe the GOAT, as some people say, but he's been shaky this year. And last time he was here, he just hit the upright every time. Tyler Bass did too, but we don't have to talk about that. But yeah, just got to hold him in the red zone, field goals instead of touchdowns.
What do you got, Lance? Oh,
penetration.
Yeah. So now time to step up. who step up, who will be the MVP. I think you guys might know already who I'm going to go, but I'm going to wait. I'll go after you guys. Let's go with Scott first. What do you got for who needs to step up and who's the MVP?
My step up, Daquan Jones. We really need him. He's kind of had a disappointing season. Obviously, he's coming off a big injury. He's a little bit older in his 30s, but we need him to not even be a game wrecker. Like, we don't need him to make TFLs and flash on film. But that'd be obviously awesome, but we just need him to eat blocks. We need him to let Ed go one-on-one. Because when Ed Oliver's one-on-one, he's damn near impossible to block. So you need Daquan Jones, or whoever is in at that one technique position, whether it's him, Austin Johnson, Clinton Jefferson, Jordan Phillips, whoever is there next to Ed Oliver, we need him to eat blocks and let the other guys go one-on-one and let them go hunt. And then my MVP, I'm going to go with Von Miller. The Bills came out and said he was on a snap count down the end of the year, so I wasn't playing all that much, keeping him fresh in the playoffs, which is smart. I know his sack numbers haven't necessarily been there, but all his analytics are. He's getting home. He's getting so close. We need one of those 3rd and 8 or even 4th and 8, down the stretch where he hits the ghost move and he gets there before Lamar can even know what hit him, because if he sees it coming, he's going to, get out of it because he's Lamar. We need a big time. We need him to be the closer like he said he is. So we need that on Sunday.
Yeah. Be who you say you are, a superstar. Have no fear. There's a song like that, something like that.
The crowd is here.
There you go. Step up the back four, Benford, Rapp, Hamlin, and Rasul Douglas. That big 88-yard touchdown run there by Henry. Terrible angles from Douglas and Hamlin on that play. Douglas seemed like he made a business decision, didn't want any part of stepping in there. But we're going to need those guys in the back four because, the guys up front are going to be eating blocks, like you said. Our linebackers have to, try to shed, but if they get caught up in the wash as well, those back four have to be there and make some plays. They're going to have to make a handful of plays throughout the game at a minimum, and they need to step up and do that. The MVP, Terrell Bernard, and the reason I say that is not necessarily only him making plays, which I think he has to do, but also be the field general out there. Get everyone in the right positions. Make sure you're communicating effectively what the call is. Make sure everyone from front to back is on the same page, knowing their assignment, knowing what's going on. And if he can do that, that gives the Bills a huge advantage on the defensive end.
Yeah, for me, my step up, I'm going to go with Matt Milano. I just think, obviously the past 2 years have been injury riddled for him, have not been the best. He's been struggling with that. But when he's been on the field, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been that Matt Milano that I think we are used to and have grown to absolutely love in Buffalo. So I think this game is going to be massive, especially because you have, like we said, two guys that can run the ball great, and it's a great offensive line, and it's got guys you're going to have to get off blocks and make plays. So I think Matt Milano is going to be a guy who really needs to step up, because if he has a good game, I think this defense has a good game, because what Terrell Bernard's going to bring, what Teron Johnson's going to bring. Heck, you even know what a guy like Von Miller is going to bring, because at least he's been getting the pressures. Not necessarily has been closing, but what these guys are going to bring. Christian Benford, what he's going to bring. So for me, it's going to be Matt Milano who needs to step up. MVP, I think, I've kind of been, raving about him all show, and I think it's going to be Teron Johnson, man. He is a difference maker. He is a dog. He is, like I said, might be one of the most underrated parts of this Bills team the past 6-7 years. He's been that guy, that glue guy that I don't think people appreciate enough. And when he's not on the field, then people realize, oh, he means that much to this team. So I think he's going to be the MVP, and I think he's going to have a massive, massive game against Baltimore, especially if they win. Him and Milano, I think, are going to be two guys that are going to need to have really good games. So, let us know who you guys, though, think who needs to step up the most, who's going to be your MVP on both sides of the ball, and start putting your score predictions down there, because we all love to see what you guys think for the score predictions as well. But I do believe that brings us to the Triple Coverage Podcast Parlay, which, again, as we always say, it is not our responsibility if you lose, but it is our responsibility if you win. So we take the credit if you win. If you lose,
shouldn't have listened to us.
Yeah. But I know, I got mine ready to go. I don't know if you guys got yours ready to go. So actually, I guess we'll go left to right here. Scott, what do you got for yours?
So I'm going to give us a prop bet from the game on Sunday. I like Josh Allen over 44.5 rushing yards. Josh runs in big games. Whenever it's, the break glass in case of emergency, Josh Allen takes off. This is a big game. It'll get much bigger than this, so can't hold anything back now.
Last game of the year, can't hold anything back now.
That's right. So I think Josh hits that. I think there's some designed runs for Josh. I think a lot of them are scrambles where Josh just sees a hole and takes it. So like over 44.5 rushing yards for Josh.
I'm going over in the Kansas City, Texas game. 41.5 was the over-under. It's the NFL. It's not the 1970s anymore. I hope that even if it's 30-14, that's 44 points. So I think over 41.5 on that game.
I'm going to stay with that game. I'm going to go 8.5 for the Texans plus 8.5. I just think that this is going to be a close game. I think that the Chiefs do win this game just because, at the end of the day, the Chiefs. John, unfortunately, I can't say a bet for Teron Johnson. There is no bets for Teron Johnson. Although if there was, I would take him. But yeah, when it comes to that game, I just think the Chiefs end up winning, but not by more than 8 or more than 9. And then I did just happen to take a quick glance because Scott got me looking at the player props. Amari Cooper, both of his lines, 1.5 catches, and then his receiving yards is 22.5 yards. He could hit
22.5. It was like 23.5 last week. So definitely, I took the over on that. It was way off.
So, and I think, again, this is a game where he's going to have to be utilized. So I think those are two great lines. I'm probably going to end up taking those this weekend. But yeah, again, bet responsibly. Don't bet what you don't have. And as Roy just said, some people, if you don't want to bet, don't bet. Don't force it. Never force a bet. Always go with what your gut tells you. And again, bet what you can. So yeah, there's the triple coverage, I guess, parlay. I know we had more than 3 there. But yeah.
I'll be live betting the Australian Open because live betting tennis is fantastic, and I'm pretty decent at it. So
I know, isn't Pegula? Is she still in that?
She lost yesterday, early this morning. Yeah,
whatever day it was over there.
Yeah, she'll get them a little bit later. But
yeah, all good. Thanks everyone for tuning in. That'll do it for us. Again, Monster Energy tailgate at the Big Tree Inn Sunday. We'll be there around 10 a.m. until an hour before kickoff or so. So come hang out, get some Monster Energy or whatever you'd like. Scott's going to be manning the grill, so he'll feed you maybe if you're nice to him. And there's plenty of other food around. 97 Rocks there with Imperial Pizza, and obviously you can get food from the Big Tree and drinks and everything. So come on over to the Big Tree Inn Sunday before the game for the Monster Energy tailgate presented by Buffalo BA Sports and more. And go out there. Get our sponsors, support them. There it is. Support our sponsors. That's what I wanted to say and couldn't. And also just have fun with this weekend, man. We're going to be rooting for the Texans so we can get another home game tomorrow. Just enjoy some family and some football this weekend. And with that, we'll just say go Bills.
Go Bills.